Marketing consultant, social media expert, and agency owner Shane Murphy today joins me on the show. Shane, welcome. How are you keeping?
Good, David. Thanks very much for having me.
No problem, no problem. For people that don't know what you do, maybe give a quick, brief introduction to yourself.
Yeah, no worries. So like you said, Shane Murphy, the owner of Play Creative Agency, which is a creative agency that specializes in digital marketing, social media marketing, and content creation.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, we're based in Ballincollig. We've been here now for the last year and a half, but been in business now just over 4 years. So.
And I was looking on your website, and some of the clients that you've worked for is like the Franciscan Well, Bulmers, Jägermeister, Photo Wildlife, and many more. Some big names in there.
Big names, yeah, but we kind of worked with. We've worked with small, we've worked with medium, worked with large. Very much, I suppose, an agency that's kind of focused on kind of every kind of client, really. We don't have any real. We don't say no to small clients. We don't say yes to all the large clients. So it's kind of a nice mix of everything.
And before that, you like myself, you came from CIT or MTU, we should say nowadays, the big rebrand out there. Yes, yeah. You came from CIT. What was that like? What did you study out there?
So actually, prior to CIT, I actually went to LIT in Limerick, and I'd say not many people actually know that, but I studied real estate in Limerick.
Did you keep that quiet?
Yeah. So I studied that for just when I came out of Leaving Cert. Obviously, like a lot of young people, I hadn't a clue what I wanted to do. My father, he works in real estate. So I said, look, I'll go into the family business, give that a go. Did it for a small bit, didn't like it. My father's kind of saying, look, it's kind of crashing anyway with the recession and stuff. This is about 2008, So it was really kind of the height of it, and decided then to pack it in and start again. So I went back and I did recreational leisure in CIT. That was the first 3 years. And then the fourth year of that, we did business. So that was the fourth year business. And then after that, decided I wasn't finished with college yet.
Yeah.
Went on and I did the master's in marketing. Did that in 2013, 2014. So yeah.
Similar enough sound to myself. I went down the route of doing the music, and I kind of studied marketing and social media and a bit of that kind of stuff on the side. And I just kind of started liking that area and then fell into the marketing. So similar kind of story to yourself. Yeah. But when you came out of CIT, you went in and you worked with Red FM doing advertising and sales. Obviously, nowadays you're kind of very much heavily involved in digital, but then you were traditional. How have you seen, or was that an easy transition, I suppose, to come from the heavily traditional into digital?
I suppose it was and it wasn't. Prior to Red FM, I worked as the social media manager for Supernova, a children's or a family entertainment centre here in Ballincollig. And the sister company to that was Roller Jam. Do you remember the roller skating company?
Yeah.
So I was the general manager of that, and the marketing, obviously with general manager, kind of fell into everything. So I was general manager and marketing manager there as well. And, there was a nice balance there between traditional and new age digital, but it was very much just kind of starting off then. It's not as big as it was now. So it was kind of good to get that side of things. So it was like, I saw the early age kind of digital. That was a time when you could post on Facebook and you could go viral by putting up absolutely anything. It was kind of cowboy stuff, really,
Yeah.
But then I suppose moved on to Red FM afterwards, and that was very traditional, doing the, radio sales and come up with campaigns. But it was good in a way, because you're going to get that. You get that structure that you need in a campaign. So you kind of take the fundamentals from the traditional and try to apply it to digital. I suppose after a while, I kind of saw that when I go to meet clients, and that's the one thing I love to do is go to meet people and kind of build relationships that way. But when you go meet a client, they kind of say to you, "Oh, I'm not sure if I should be doing radio or if I should be doing more digital." So it kind of got me thinking that digital was obviously becoming very strong, and people were thinking about it a lot. So just saw a bit of a gap in the market. Well, not much of a gap in the market, but a gap in the market in Cork anyway. Kind of just went from there,
And did you find it a hard transition to go? I know you were doing a little bit of the social, but to go almost purely into digital, nearly, how much I suppose would a traditional play in what you do nowadays?
I've got a few clients that it's not just digital marketing I do for them. I'm always like their marketing person, So,
yeah.
Yourself, you can't just touch on social. You have to touch on other points as well. So everything to do with offline. You probably know that from your own work there, that yes, it's probably focused online because that's the way things have gone now, but it's still about the customer experience. When someone walks into their shop or walks into their restaurant, what kind of experience they get, the touch points that they have, when you walk in and sit down. Do you see, nice branding, or is there any call to action to drive people to social media? So I do that kind of stuff as well. So it's a nice balance, I suppose. It's primarily digital, but I do definitely have clients that we have to focus on more traditional stuff as well. So it's kind of good to have those both backgrounds, that it's not just heavily focused on one area. You can have the experience to, dive back into your traditional roots as well,
And when it comes to planning out campaigns nowadays, like, do you see, like I would deal with a lot of people now that, someone would be more so towards radio, say, some of them be very old school, and, they have to have the ad in the paper each week, the local paper and stuff like that. Would you find yourself pushing particular clients to particular avenues, or would you say, no, this is the campaign, it's going to work well here? Would you have a kind of a way of approaching that?
I suppose the way I approach it is every client or every business has the target audience, and yes, you're going to have to go with what your expertise is, but you're going to have to also listen to the business owner. If they say that traditional marketing works because they have a demographic of 45 plus, and they still pick up the paper every Sunday morning, that's tradition. There's no harm in that, still kind of getting that balance right between traditional and digital. Now, from a cost point of view, as you know yourself, digital is still very cost effective compared to traditional marketing. Yeah. But if you've got the budget to do both, I look at your demographic and say, okay, like for example, we're working a campaign at the moment, and it won't be launched now until probably April or so, but it's for our clients in there in the financial industry. And we have to get that balance right between trying to go after the younger demographic on digital, but also keeping, taking care of their...
Without using too much of the budget on one or the other, I suppose, sharing it out.
We're trying to get that nice balance. Yeah. And obviously, I do try and push digital a bit more. Yeah. Because I know the results. I can see the results, and you can see the insights to that campaign, where, from a traditional point of view, I suppose that's the downfall. You're kind of just taking on merit that, X amount of people read the paper, or X amount of people read the radio or listen to the radio. So where with social, obviously, and digital, you can obviously check out the insights and be a bit more efficient that way.
And when you talk about financial, like us in terms of marketing, is always like financial in that kind of corporate world is always like, it's like, no, don't touch them. They're very hard to work with. It's very financial is always very hard to make look sexy, I suppose, in terms of marketing. So what way would you approach, like in terms of social then? Would you have particular avenues you'd go down with financial companies, or do you come up with a really creative campaign, or do this is safe, this is what works, it's going to get the best bang for buck, call to action, and it's going to drive sales?
Yeah, I suppose it's kind of tested out. Like we did a campaign now for that. We did before Christmas. I kind of work with them kind of a ad hoc basis, and it was again trying to get that balance between the call to action, because that's what they want. They want that nice call to action, but also trying to be a bit creative, because they're trying to compete with Revolut and different banks, and it's such a clustered market that everyone's trying to get that. So you're trying to get that kind of creative thing as well. So the campaign I came up with was real money, and trying to bounce on the back of Reels, Instagram Reels. So You're trying to get your demographic by, trying to get them to do different challenges and post it to Reels. And on the back of that, then they could win some money, or win cash prizes basically. And it went well for them. It's new to them, so it was very much kind of a step-by-step process. But if you can start incorporating those kind of small creatives into your marketing, like that, now trying to make it sexy, as you say, it kind of gets them thinking more about digital as well, and getting them more comfortable as well from a point of view of check out the results and check out the campaign went.
Yeah, and at the stage of things in Ireland now, less and less competition, I suppose, news that's coming out in terms of banks, so I suppose and you mentioned Revolut there, like that's a fantastic app, and it's really after tossing that whole industry upside down, really.
Yeah, I suppose they've kind of done. I kind of compared them to Starbucks and those kind of things. It's very much a brand that you want to be associated with. Like I'm not sure, like if you walk on the street, it's almost cool to see, if you're in a certain age group, like 18 to 24, it's cool to be seen with a cup of coffee or a cup of Starbucks, So it's the same with Revolut, trying to use Revolut as a means of paying for your stuff, It's but they've just created a culture, and they've created a really good identity around who they're trying to go after. So that's what you try to aspire to be, but obviously you have to be realistic too and say, okay, this is the budget I have,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Where these crowds are obviously working with absolutely endless amounts of revenue.
Exactly. Take it back a little step. So both of us, I suppose, coming from different courses in CIT, would be big advocates of that college and their style and how they teach, and the lecturers that are out there. But in terms of education, when it comes to marketing, it's a kind of a funny one. A lot of people are definitely going down that route nowadays. But a lot of people that maybe have made a big name for themselves in it, some of them wouldn't have even come from a marketing background, some of them commerce or business, or even gone through the PR route in terms of English, and literature and that kind of side. How important do you think education is in terms of marketing? Like, is it more reliant on the qualifications, the titles, or would it be more a portfolio job would do it? Like, how do you think education is important?
I think for me, education is very important. Like for me, I suppose having the masters in marketing, I do kind of see that as, it's a good point for me that I have it compared to other people, as well, but I suppose from an education point of view, I kind of look at how practical the courses were.
Yeah.
It's all well and good kind of teach it in-house and doing it that way, but you can't really beat going out and getting practical teachings in it. So yeah, it's kind of the way that I suppose the way education's gone now. It's probably better that it's more practical. Like I was very lucky in our courses that we always had those kind of days or those kind of months where you have to go out and work with different
projects or the campaigns you have to work on. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I do think CIT kind of does that well, because they have that nice balance of the coursework, but also doing all the practical side of things as well.
Yeah. And because I would get a few people coming to me like, because I've done a few bits in UCC and I've done bits in CIT, I would get a lot of students coming to me saying, I'm struggling to get work, I'm struggling to get experience. You can't get experience without having the qualification. You can't get the job without having the work experience and all. It kind of duck before the egg, or chicken before the egg and all that kind of stuff. So what would you recommend for students nowadays coming out of courses in CIT or other colleges? What way would you tell them to approach their career?
For me, I would say to them, because like you said, from there, marketing is so diverse. People from PR backgrounds and business backgrounds kind of fall into marketing because it is such a wide topic that anyone can fall into any aspects of marketing.
Yeah.
So for me, I try and get as much experience in different areas of marketing as possible. Just because you've done digital doesn't mean you're going to stay in digital forever. You might do something in PR, or you might do something in traditional, side of things. So try and get as much experience as possible in the different areas. You can't beat experience, trying to get out there and do it. I see a few places now, or some people, they come out of college straight away and they go straight into owning their own kind of business, because I think that's kind of, again, that's the kind of thing that's done. It's entrepreneurship now is almost seen as this kind of
I was actually going to bring this up in a few minutes. I was going to go into talk about you and the agency, but I was going to ask you that, is there a kind of, I suppose, a romantic view around running your own consultancy or business or agency? You obviously seen that as well, have you?
I think there is, but it's such a nice area of work. I can definitely see the appeal for it. It's becoming a lot more popular as well, because obviously now when you come out of college, or all different college courses, there's a lot of digital, there's a lot of content creation. A lot of people are doing more creative jobs, especially in the lines of on social media and stuff like that. So it's definitely seen as this kind of up and coming industry. And I think we're only at the very start of it, really. So that's what I'd say for people coming out of college is to try and get that experience first before you go head first into running your own agency or running your own business. Try and get that experience first, even if it's for 6 months.
I think you need to have something to be able to back up what you do, really, because if anyone came, say for example, wanting to do a project with me or whatever, or yourself, I would be asking first. I wouldn't ask them what qualification you have. I'd say what work have you done? Show me some sort of campaigns you've worked on, some results you've done, and I'd naturally be more towards that. Like I think qualifications are great. I've done my time in CIT; they're absolutely fantastic. But if you can't back up what you've learned, it's a hard sell at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think as well, like to come back on your question about college, like college is great again for the practical side of things, and it's great to say you've got X, Y, and Z as a qualification. But for me, college was good because it puts structure to structure on your day-to-day stuff, but also gives structure to your deadlines. Like if you have to meet deadlines, working groups, working teams, like that's what college was good for me. I don't think I can't remember what I even did in college. I just remember the friends you make, doing projects and meeting those kind of deadlines. They're the kind of things, they're the kind of skills that you want to take away from college that you can start implementing into your everyday life, and that's why I think as well, bring that forward to working with different companies and working in different industries. That gives you the experience then to, if you do decide that in time you want to run your own agency or run your own business, it gives you the confidence then that you can say, yeah, I worked with this company, this is the project that we did, and show the results there afterwards,
Yeah, and I think that's probably all stemming. You kind of touched on it there a little bit from the whole influencer marketing. That you're seeing these people that look like they have the most fabulous lives. They're living their best life. They're posting all day long on social media. But yes, some of these people are doing this for a living, and there is some serious work, as we would know, in the background to doing that. It's not just taking a picture and throwing it up. Yeah. But I think there's so many people that have gained followers for no particular reason, I suppose. And that's just, as you said, kind of at the start of this whole, this is still on the rise in terms of social media. So I think that's kind of romanticized it and made it look like this is a really appealing area to go into. And obviously it is, but it's I suppose it's going in with your eyes wide open that a lot of that is not real, that is fake. That's what it's there for.
Yeah, I think it's well documented now that social media, you kind of only really put your best foot forward, and you kind of only see, as you say, the glossy side of things, so it takes I think it takes a certain confidence, obviously, to put yourself out there on social media first off. But I just hope that when people do it, they're doing it for the right reasons. They're not doing it to impress their friends, or they're not doing it because they saw it somewhere else on social media. Like you really hope that they're doing it for the right reasons, and they see it as potentially as a career for themselves. Because you don't want to not waste time, but you don't want to do something that you're only doing for somebody else. And that probably goes for a lot of things, not just on influencer marketing, Mm-hmm.
I think that like influencer has really become, I suppose, a dirty word in the last couple of years, because of what we talked about there. But I always look at it in terms of what's more so who's influential rather than an influencer, So like take yourself, for example, with the agency. I follow the agency page. You put up tips and tricks and advice every now and again. I'd follow similar pages like your own. Like to me, that's influential. But would I call you an influencer? No, because it's become such a bad word, that kind of thing. So I think that kind of whole thing where even in terms of marketing, you have to look for more so people that are influential more so than just, putting your best foot forward all the time.
Yeah, I suppose you kind of, I usually kind of make my own personal pages, who I follow. It's more like a library. So it's people I want to actually engage with, or, they want to, see their content, or if I find them funny, or, that's kind of the rule of social media is if you want to build a brand in social media, it's either giving back value or you're giving back more information or some sort of entertainment. So it's kind of finding that balance again. Yeah, I suppose the influencer market or influencer has become a bit of a dirty word, right? But I do think that people are coming around to that, that it does have a purpose, or it does serve a purpose in marketing. I've worked with different influencers in different campaigns, and to be honest, they've been very good, and they help out with the campaign a lot, because if you think about a very small business can't afford, again, to be advertising massive on radio, print, TV, but they can give a small bit of budget or give products to an influencer to promote their brand. It's a nice thing to do, So I do see merit in it. I suppose there's a lot of people have bad images of social media or influencers because of what people put up, or what people do on social media. But they're kind of pages that you shouldn't be following in the first place. They're kind of ones that, as you said there, you might follow people that kind of give back more value than they're looking for,
Yeah. And you mentioned there that, like, same as myself, you'd use your page for, just a channel to follow people, to whether it's to learn off or just to keep up to date with. In terms of marketing and business, is there any pages now that are popping straight into your head that for anyone listening that might be able to follow to get further advice or tips or just literally really good content to watch? Anyone that's popping into your head there?
Yeah, from I suppose on a big level, you probably look at the likes of Steve Bartlett.
Yeah.
I think he recently actually sold it, but he's gone from social change.
He is, yeah. He's out on his own now, yeah.
Yeah, so he himself and another guy, they all started years ago, and they were a social media agency over in the UK, and they've grown it in all over Europe. But I would have followed Stephen's journey from the very beginning online, and kind of watching his YouTube videos to what he done then from, you know, growing an Instagram brand and all kind of stuff. I just like, he's obviously very good at what he does. You know, he basically told a story from the start to the beginning or to the end. And
what I like about Stevens, I will watch a lot of his stuff as well. It's a bit more real. It's not as, it is produced and, you know, it is a production, like, but in terms of, it doesn't feel too much like it. It is a bit more real, I suppose, into what he's actually doing, and he's actually giving genuine advice. He's telling you the hard stuff as well.
Exactly. You kind of get the both sides of the coin. It's not always we're just launching this now, or this is a new side of the business. You know, you kind of get the other side too, where he's talking about his struggles that he had when he started off. And I suppose as a business owner, it's kind of nice to tap into that too, that you kind of see, okay, you're not the only one, or, you know, okay, he went through those struggles too, and this is the other side of it, you know, so it's good. I suppose on a local level, from a marketing point of view, I think the guys at Click do some great stuff, and they do, you know, great podcasts as well. I think from going more the other side of the border, looking at, or the other side of the world, you're looking at Garyvee.
I love or hate relationship there.
You know what? I go through times where I consume all his content for about 6 months, and then I don't watch him again for another 6 months. You know,
very similar to myself. Yeah. Like, and to be honest, I'm definitely waiting for that 6 months to come back in of watching them. I'm kind of off it now for a while. Look, I think a lot of people, I do, like, personally, I think Gary gives some good advice. I just think it's how he gives it comes across bad. You know, it just doesn't always sound the best or whatever. But if you actually break down what he's saying, sometimes it is actually good. Like, you know, I just think it's the way it's all packaged. I think it just comes across as very forceful and very dramatized, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose he's kind of going, he knows what works, you know. Yeah. In marketing, you'll see it, because it's like watching a movie with your partner, and you pick out all the faults with it, you know, or you can see the product placement, or, you know, that kind of stuff. And you kind of know it yourself and say, do you see that there? And you kind of ruin the film to a certain degree. So, like, when you're watching Gary, I kind of think he's over dramatized, because he knows that's what's going to get, or he's more animated than usual, because I'd say he knows that's what kind of gets numbers, you know. But yeah, that's kind of,
in terms of, they would have been, Stephen is definitely one I'd always recommend someone to just dip in and out of and you know, follow. He's some really, really good advice. Going on to the agency side of stuff then, so Play, give us a couple of rundown of what services you would offer.
Yeah, I suppose we are, as I said from the start there, it's primarily geared towards social media marketing and content creation. So I suppose social media marketing kind of ranges in a lot of things. When I say I'm in social media marketing, I think a lot of people like, what's that? You know, they don't probably don't understand it. So
what, you play with Facebook? What?
Yeah. Yeah. It's basically, I suppose, social media marketing. It's I suppose you're kind of the marketing person for that brand, and you're come up with strategies and campaigns, whether that's always on, or creating content for the pages, or doing Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising. It's kind of there's a wide range of things. You know, I wouldn't say I'm a content creator to a certain degree, but I do create content. You know, I wouldn't say I'm a videographer or a photographer.
I know the feeling, don't worry. Yeah. I think it's the more you say it, the more jobs you get.
But I have a team for that, you know, that do those jobs, you know, so it's kind of putting all those elements together from a strategy, content creation, ads, adding a bit of creativity inside there as well, and putting that together into kind of a nice project management side of things, and package it up, give back to the client, see if they think, and if it's all good, we run with it, and most of the time it works.
I think you touched on one word there now that I would describe your agency as, and from looking from the outside in, is the creativity side of it. You know, that you give off that great sense of creative out there. And when you look at, like, from my point of view in terms of working with a business with marketing, you know, that would approach someone like you to work with the business, it's exactly what I would like to see. You know, I don't like seeing, you know, the kind of the not the too professional, but the you know, the kind of staleness and the kind of, we're experts, email us and that's it. You know, that kind of thing, that kind of standoffish approach. You know, that a lot of agencies would give out. Whereas I want someone, if I'm going to someone for social media, digital marketing, or campaign planning, I want someone that's creative. You know, and I think that's the kind of vibe you give off, and it should be the vibe an agency like yours gives off.
Thank you, first off.
No problem.
Yeah, I think creativity comes in, you know, many forms. It's not, you know, being creative can be writing a blog post, you know, or being creative could be, you know, doing that kind of big, massive campaign where you're doing stuff that's kind of off the wall. So it comes in different levels, you know. That's why creative, again, it's kind of like that word marketing. There's different levels to it, you know. So again, when we work with clients, we do try to, first of all, it's be responsive. So it's like if you message, you're going to get me, or you're going to get somebody that's, you know, close by. It's not, you know, going to a random
three tiers up, like, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So yeah, and I suppose, look, it's a small, like, at the end of the day, we're a small business, so like that's the beauty of it. You kind of work with you work with everybody. So yeah, I suppose from a creative point of view, we do try and incorporate that. I suppose starting off, that's what we wanted to be, was kind of that niche, that kind of level where you're kind of offering something that was a little bit different. And that's kind of slow to start for people to understand, you know, but after time, or, you know, getting experience in it, it kind of shows what you can do. And I think people become a lot more confident in what you can do then, you know, and they trust the process as opposed to, I suppose, doing the normal traditional stuff, or traditional kind of marketing, as you said there from the start. Yeah.
And I mentioned some of the brands already that you've worked with. Is there any that always kind of stand out, or any that you can talk about in terms of, you know, your favorite projects, I suppose, or campaigns you've done to date? Is there any real ones that you kind of latch onto that you always talk about?
There's been there's like most clients, we try and come up with campaigns that, you know, show off them in the best light, you know, and bring the customer in a kind of a journey, and bring as much creativity as possible. I suppose from a point of view of an actual campaign that we did, and it kind of stood out, we worked with Photo Wildlife, a couple of maybe pre-pandemic.
Yeah. When people could go.
Yeah, exactly. So we were down there, and again, they kind of wanted something that was a bit different. That wasn't just the run of the mill, you know, promote the summer events and bring families down. So we came up with a campaign where it was user generated. So when people were actually on site at the wildlife park, that they would take pictures of what's happening around them at different points of it. So, you know, either them with their family, or them showing off the cheetahs, whatever it was. So they take a picture of it, put it on social media with a hashtag, that's my photo. And at the end of the campaign, then we used to pick winners. So, but we used to blur out the pictures so they wouldn't know who the picture was belonged to. So you have to guess in if that was the picture was yours, and they come back in and say, yes, that's my photo, tying in with Photo Wildlife Park, the photo they've taken. Yeah. So it was good just from a user generated point of view. So we kind of got a lot of followers that way, got a lot of new people on the Instagram pages and social media pages. Got a lot more sign-ups as well for, you know, the kind of all year round visits to the park. So it's kind of a nice overall kind of campaign, bringing offline and online together. I
think, like, when you're saying it there, like, obviously, look, there's a lot of work that goes in behind it, but sometimes it's actually a really simple idea.
Yeah.
Can work wonders, you know, like that is in effect, you know, if you said, now that we're talking about it, probably a year or two on, like, you know, but probably when they first approached you, you know, you're racking your head about ideas, and now all in all, it's actually a very simple idea, but has huge benefit and it probably created a huge amount of engagement, I would imagine, online.
Yeah, great engagement, because obviously if you're sharing the photo tagline and the hashtag and all that, it just gets more awareness, you know, more organically. And, you know, obviously we can do paid ads, and that's fine. But if you can try and be creative from a organic point of view, that's a great way to do it, because you're getting Shane and you're getting Dave talking about the brand.
Yeah.
The brand talking about themselves, you know. So you're bringing that kind of awareness to everyone else's followers as well, you know.
I think there's a huge emphasis now on, you know, you mentioned it there in terms of organic content. You know, there is a big push for paid. and I find it from a lot of times from agencies. You know, I would be a lover of organic content, you know, and engagement and brand building and relationship marketing. I think, you know, there's a lot to be said for the paid. It does work, you know, especially if you're going down the route of an e-commerce platform or, you know, driving sales. But for day-to-day social media, you can't beat proper content creation in terms of it, where it's user generated or in-house, but, you know, real content, you know, not just stock images, you know, actual real content. You can't beat that, I think.
No, and you're bringing a personality to the pages, you know, and that's what, at the end of the day, that's what people want. You know, people want to see what's happening behind the scenes of a company, or kind of building that kind of community online, and then you can reinforce them with your adverts. If you're doing e-commerce stuff, you know, you can really dive deep into that side of things. And there is massive merit in doing social ads for an e-commerce brand, or if you've got whatever your lead targets are, you know, there's great rewards for doing social ads. But at the end of the day, you can't beat doing organic value pieces on your social media pages.
It's very powerful. Across the couple of different industries that, you know, that I've just seen from your website, you know, you've worked with companies in hospitality, food and drink, as you already mentioned, the finance sector and more corporates. Is there an area that you personally are more kind of drawn towards, for, you know, that you get a bit more enjoyment out of?
I think I just think overall B2C, or business to consumer, that's probably more where my interests lie. But obviously then we do work with a lot of B2B as well, you know, so it's hard to say. I suppose coming from an agency or coming from this type of background, brilliant thing about it is you're not geared to one thing. You know, you can on one day you've got your hat on, which is hospitality, the next day it's beauty, the next day it's finance.
But that's fantastic, because there's such a diverse in your own job. Like, you know, you have great diversity. Every day is probably something different. You know, it's not the same brand, it's not the same content, it's not the same people. You know, that is an ideal situation in terms of marketing, you know, that you can be really, really creative every single day.
Yeah, and you kind of bounce off people as well. So, like, if someone might say something that's not relevant whatsoever to that industry, but something goes off my head, say, oh, that'd actually be a really good idea for this other brand that I have, but it's nothing to do with them whatsoever, you know. So, like, it's good to be in different areas, because like that, from a creative point of view, you're not stuck in the one area. I suppose from my own kind of, as you mentioned there from the start, place kind of background and our own activity on social media, it's kind of like that. You're so focused on everyone else's brand, you don't get time to focus on your own brand, you know.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's
typical business owner you are, you know. If you need someone to come in and help you with social, Shane, I'm around, all right.
But you know, you're working with different brands, and it's great to be creative, where you almost become an employee of, or you become like an investor of that brand, because you want them to do well. You know, you're kind of working in each industry, and you want each business owner to do well like that, because you're dealing with, like I deal with everyone that I work with, it's either the owner of it or the marketing manager of it that's been there for years. So it's like they have that connection, and they want to they obviously want the business to do well, and you kind of have to invest in that as well, you know.
It popped into my head there when you were talking about, you know, running your own brand and your own social. We talked about Stephen Bartlett there when he was with Social Chain, or Gary Vaynerchuk with VaynerMedia. Yeah. You'd have to shit yourself if you were his social media person for their business. Like, you must be under some pressure every day, you know, to run their brand. You know, that I'd say there's serious pressure behind that job.
Yeah, I think at that level you're just kind of doing what they say. You know,
and hope you don't get a slap across the back of the head someday.
Kick up the arse,
yeah. If a business is wanting to start working with yourselves, what generally do you say they should start thinking about before they take that initial call to come and chat to you?
I suppose think about what their goals are. What we try to do is we just try to help. That's the one thing we try to do is, when you're a business owner, marketing might be your thing, or you might have the time to do marketing. So it's you have to have that talk with yourself and say, okay, I genuinely need help with it. Or, okay, I could not watch 4 episodes of The Walking Dead tonight, and I'll just do my own marketing plan instead, you know. Yeah. So you kind of have to have that kind of conversation with yourself. A, do I have time for it? And B, have I the interest to do it? And if those answers are no, I don't have time for it, and no, I don't have the interest for it, then maybe it's starting to think about getting somebody either in-house or, hiring someone like ourselves where you don't have the commitment to pay holidays or, P60s or anything like that, so, but I think even prior to all that, it's having a look at all your kind of pages from a social point of view, your websites, landing pages, in-house, look at everything that you're doing from an overall point of view and say to yourself, okay, am I happy with this, or could I do a little bit better with it?
I think I spotted there, was it a week or two ago, you're going down a new path with Play. Well, not a new path, but I suppose you're trying out you have a bit of space out there to use up, I suppose, do you? You're looking to create a bit of a hub out there?
Yeah, we've got quite the space, all right. Yes, I suppose there's kind of two parts to Play. Now, we obviously have the digital marketing side of things, but also there's the studio and content creation hub that we have as well. And from day one, what I always wanted to do was create kind of an environment where freelancers or small business owners could come in and use the space. And that's why just a couple of weeks back, only a very soft launch I put on my stories, just asking if there's interest in a co-working space, which would be geared towards creators and small businesses. So given the option to hot desk, but also have the podcast. So we have a podcast studio here, use the photography and videography backgrounds, but more so just kind of be in an area where it's like-minded people, and you're not coming into, I suppose right now everyone's kind of working from home mostly, which is difficult to do. I know we mentioned that from the very start, off camera here, and I think people are almost getting sick of it to a certain degree, that they're kind of missing that kind of social engagement. I'd love to bring that to Ballincollig here, where.
Well, I think you're in a good area in Ballincollig because it is a feeder town for the city, and you have your good bus service and public transport and all that, but you actually have a good catchment area itself out there, and a lot of people that I know in person, you would know in terms of marketing, are actually living out that area. So I think you're actually in a good, and there's definitely not anything like what you're doing out there. So I do think it's a great spot. But you've already mentioned, in terms of having all those tools available to you, and having the studios and the backdrops and all that, there's not many places you can go and get all that at your fingertips, and I think you're going to be creating a specific type of hub out there that's definitely a creative hub. And I'm all for partnering up and brand partnerships, and I think that would be a great spot for it, to be able to go out and work with people, and look, I'm a photographer or I'm a videographer, I can help you out, can you do a bit of web for me, or help me edit my audio for the podcast. I think that's where benefit lies in what you're kind of building out there.
Yeah, and you touched it there, it's very much a collaboration. I don't, if another marketing person comes in, I've absolutely no issue with that. I'm sure we could probably work together on different things, because at the end of the day, it's all about collaboration. It's all about partnering with people. And, I might be an expert in one thing, but I haven't a clue how to, edit a video, so it's all about creating those partnerships and creating those collaborations. And I just think that's something that we kind of need to get back to as well. Especially after all this kind of finishes,
Fingers crossed, and I look forward to seeing what that entails over the coming months, and hopefully not too long before you can get up and running properly with people in and around. But to finish off, where will people be able to find you if they want to find out more or follow your pages?
I suppose first thing is drive people to the website. So that's playcreative.ie. If you want to follow ourselves on social media, it's Play Creative Agency. My own page is Shane Murphy D. And they're probably the best places to check us out.
Brilliant. Shane, really appreciate that. Thanks for coming on. And I'm sure loads of people listening will get great advice from that, and get in touch with Shane if he can help your business out. And take care. Thanks very much.
Cheers, David. Thanks very much. Really enjoyed it.